Hi everybody, welcome to episode 33 of Satellite 664. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kaz Tagan, and as always I'm joined by Mr. Paul Lindop, and joining us once again is Mr. Keith Wilfort. How are you, gentlemen?
Good, thank you. Yeah, good evening everybody. Good day.
Yeah, pretty good, thanks.
Always a challenge doing these ones because we've got three continents and vastly different time zones. So I mean, Paul, you're obviously in London. Keith, you're in California, and I'm in Melbourne. So it's 6 a.m. here. If anyone wants to know, I got out a bit early, but I'm not going to get much sympathy, am I, from anyone? So
no, not at all.
All right.
Oh, that's all right. I was up at 6 a.m. to watch the London NFL game, so
yeah, so
I feel your pain.
You feel well, but you got a good result at the end of it, didn't you? So.
Oh yeah.
That's good. Now, before we get on to the topic of the day, really exciting news with the announcement of the new tour next year in 2023. I must say, on the fan club forum, there was a lot of talk about a combined Senjutsu Summer in Time type tour next year, and it's going back a couple of months ago, and I must admit I was a bit bewildered that people would sort of discuss this sort of thing, but I have to say I'm very happy to be proven wrong. I mean, it came to fruition, and what I actually think is the most exciting tour announcement in a very long time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you've got finally we're going to get effectively a Senjutsu tour, but revisiting one of the most popular albums in the band's history. So this is going to be great, and the artwork, the things that they could do, the directions they could take this is going to be fantastic. The little cryptic messages on the artwork is the Samurai 5, Cyborg 5, and
yeah.
And then the speculation about what songs will they play.
Yeah.
Do we think they'll do the 5 songs they did in 86, 87, or could we get Alexander the Great?
I hope they do. It need, to me, my personal opinion, I think it's the time they need to play it.
Look,
get it over and done with. It should have been done in '86.
Yeah.
I think, did Steve say they thought it was too hard to play live or something?
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, because I mean, it's one of those where like in the studio you can do it in bits and pieces, but when you try to play the whole thing live, it was a bit of a nightmare. But I mean, now we're like, the technology's evolved, so they should, they may be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
But of course, don't forget as well the Count is retired, so that means they haven't got a full-time keyboards player anymore.
That's true, and Alexander the Great is a song with where the keyboards really, I won't say drive the song, but it is a dominant sort of factor in the song.
It's multi-layered, basically. It's sort of like, you probably need, to have done it then in '86, they'd have probably needed an orchestra. Whereas like nowadays, as I said, with technology, they might be able to get away with some sampling and stuff and whatever.
Yeah, but going back a little bit though, the band Iron Maiden have played it live within the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So if they can play it live, why can't the band who recorded it in the studio release it, play it live? But
because
I don't know.
Because they haven't got perfectionists driving them properly. Steve, it's not a matter of just be able to do it live. It's got to be note perfect and whatever.
Exactly. And I know Steve was told that they were going to play it and wanted a recording of it, and apparently he was given it and heard of it. So
sorry,
maybe they'll adapt it.
Someone told Steve, I think, that Iron Maiden were going to play the song live. And he said, I'd love to hear that. And so it was recorded. I think it was recorded and given to Steve as a copy. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that was what happened. I know Steve said, "I'd love to hear that" or something.
Yeah, look, I think also too these days we've got Yannick Gers, we've got a third guitarist, so that actually gives them that versatility to add a bit more layering into the song and actually pull it off. So that's one factor.
Yeah.
I also think in 1986 they did Rime of the Ancient Mariner, so
They did, yeah.
so that took up a lot of space.
And to me, I think personally that is a more complex song to play than Alexander the Great.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
And if they can pull that off live, which they've done on a few tours, they can do Alexander the Great.
But then again, going back one more tour further, remember they dropped Lost for Words because they could never get that right. And Lost for Words, you'd think would probably be one of the simplest songs to play, but they couldn't get it right. So in the end, Steve said, "Oh, fuck it,"
Sounds good to me every time I do it. When I saw it live at Hammersmith, and obviously the recording, it was a B-side live of one of the singles.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me. It's a little bit faster than the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds perfect.
Well, they always sped up their songs, but also too some of those songs on Summer in Time, not all of them back then translated well to a live setting. I mean, in Belgrade, they tried Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
Yeah,
and if you listen to
it didn't flow with the set or something.
It didn't. Look, if you listen to the bootleg of that show, the recording of that show, it just didn't translate well to a live setting. It just didn't. It was quite harsh. It was a harsh recording. So I think, 36 years on, you've got a third guitarist. You've got, as Keith's saying, you've got better technology, and I was at Athens. I was in Athens 3 months ago, and Bruce said again, "We're going to play this song for you one day."
I think they will. I don't think. I'm hoping, and I think that they won't play it safe on this. You know what I mean? Your wasted years, your heaven can wait. I think it will be.
Yeah, I think they'll play
slightly more
obscure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so. I really hope so.
Strange Lands, Alexander the Great. I'm hoping they do.
Now the question is, if they, in today's climate, if they bring back Heaven Can Wait, will fans be allowed on stage again, or will it just be like?
No, I can't say it. I think it would be. I don't think it would be fans, Keith. I think it would be like it was when it first started.
Yeah, the crew.
Yes,
crew, VIP and stuff.
Well, I did it twice in '93. That was only because I had VIP pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think.
And I got scolded off Dickie Bell as well before I even got on stage. But
I don't even think it's a COVID issue, or a sort of infection prevention issue. I just think it's more of a security issue these days.
Yeah.
More so.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, I think it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would. I don't think they'll do the fan thing like they did in 2008.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I did it in 2008 here in Melbourne, and it was very tightly, very rigidly. Sort of organised, but I think later on that tour was sort of few people ruined it by crossing some boundaries, I suppose. But
yeah, well, what's it? Also as well nowadays is the the society we live in. You got liability issues. So he's like basically someone trips over a cable or something, breaks their leg or whatever, coming off, running off stage then.
Yeah.
I tripped over. Didn't break my leg at Raising Hell when we did it at Raising Hell. I tripped over Eddie's finger that was behind the back of the stage. And they had the big Fear of the Dark Eddie, didn't they? And his hands came up at the side and went like that. And I ran around the back of the stage to get back out and tripped over Eddie's finger.
It's Look, I think a lot of people are excited, and the one thing is inevitable. A lot of people's credit cards are going to be getting a beating over the next few days when the tickets go on sale. So
mine will Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Well.
Although I probably won't ever use it, I got my pre-sale code from Music Glue a couple of days ago. Literally, like the same day the tour's announced, I got them email to say about my pre-sale code.
Yeah. Well, at least you be purchasing tickets, mate. I've got to purchase an airline ticket as well. So I've got to book.
Hell, I won't purchase a ticket.
Hey?
I won't purchase a ticket.
No, you won't. But out of the three of us, somebody has to catch an Emirates flight.
There were rumours that Ross paid for this.
Hey?
Someone's got to support the band.
Yeah, I know.
Financially, someone's got to do.
I thought you were going to say Rod pays for your ticket. That never happened, would it?
Great stuff. No doubt we'll be talking about this again. Okay, so Paul, what are we talking about today? We've been away for a long time. What are we talking about?
The iconic Number the Beast album.
Yes, 40th
40
anniversary.
Years. We've left it till October to touch on this because we've had other stuff to do. So
well,
it was about time that we pulled our finger out and spoke about this album.
Yeah, a couple of people sort of posted on the forum, why are you guys not talking about this album? That wasn't anything deliberate. I was just talking about other fun stuff.
No, we had an agenda of what we were going to do. It was always on our agenda to do, wasn't it? But we just came at the time.
So 40 years So 40 years have passed, and I don't think any of us can actually believe it's been 40 years because we all remember. We all remember where we were, and when we got the album. I mean, Keith, you were obviously in the inner sanctum. Paul and I were fans, but it's astounding that 4 decades have passed. I just can't believe the time's gone so fast. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So, I think the discussion is not so much about the music. I mean, everyone's heard the songs. We don't sit here and talk about Adrian's guitar solo on this song or the drumming on that song. We're just not that sort of an analytical type show, but. What makes the Number of the Beast interesting is a lot of the subplots that were going on around the band, or around the recording, and around the album. Okay, so let's start with the obvious. You have the exit of Paul Di'Anno, you've got the entry of Bruce Dickinson. So, Keith, what I want to talk to you, it's well documented officially that Paul Di'Anno was having quite a few problems. We don't need to talk about those, but do you recall, and I know it's a very long time ago, do you recall even before Bruce joined, the band having one eye out on Samson and, looking at Bruce on stage and saying, maybe?
Yes. Yeah, it had been. It was sort of like an undercurrent that was there and stuff. Like the sort of had a couple of discussions where they sort of bloody hell, he's good. Because basically the issues with Paul started at the end of 1980. At the end of 1980. Because on the summer tour they did with Praying Mantis, he had to cancel a few shows because his voice went. So it's like by the start of 1981, they were beginning to look in other directions and thinking, well, if Paul can't sort himself out, then we're going to have to find something else. So I mean, Bruce was always sort of like in the frame as a top echelon replacement if needed be.
Keith
sorry, Keith.
No, go on, mate.
Didn't Steve say on the early days issue DVD that they did have other people in mind that they brought in enough? Did they audition other people but they just didn't sound right or they weren't right or something like that, Keith?
Yeah, I mean,
Terry Slessor.
Yeah.
Terry Slessor, one of them?
I I'm not sure. I vaguely remember him being mentioned, but I'm not sure if they actually got as far as auditioning him or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, basically, as I said, I know the people with auditions, it was basically personality differences or, the old favourite musical differences where, like, the singer wanted to be the person in charge of stuff or whatever, or plus they weren't up front enough. They were more like a background person than a front man and stuff. But yeah, they all had their own little issues.
Was it true that Rod, because of the whatever happened between Samson and Maiden earlier on, that Rod was a bit sceptical about bringing Bruce in? Or was that just a story that's floating around out there? But because the final decision was probably Steve's anyway, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, the thing was, it wasn't so much that. It's just that Bruce had this at the time. As you know, he said that Bruce had the sort of like flowing robes and stuff going, and I mean. Yeah. That's not Iron Maiden. Sort of. Ironically, you see me flying robes on Sign of the Cross now and stuff, and whatever. But yeah, it felt Bruce was sort of more like a little bit sort of too theatrical, rather than like sort of heavy metal.
He had a moustache as well, didn't he?
Yep.
And he was using the name Bruce, wasn't he? Because was that to do with the Monty Python sketch, the Australian Monty Python sketch? Yeah.
Exactly.
Keith, did the band interact with Bruce socially, sort of here and there, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, they did gigs together, they meet up on the pub and club circuit and stuff. And of course, it's like the musicians' old boys club. It's sort of like, oh, how you doing? Blah blah blah. It's like a backstage social club.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're all aware of what each other, what they were up to, each other was up to and stuff.
Yeah, because they played with each other, didn't they?
I
remember Cod telling me a story that he went to see them at Samson and Maiden at Guildford. Don't know what year, probably 80. He borrowed one of Rob Loonhouse's cardboard guitars, and Bruce nicked it and broke it on stage when he was singing for Samson. Yeah. They did know each other, didn't they?
Plus the fact as well, a lot of the Samson material was like more bluesy, so it wasn't sort of like rock. It wasn't singing rock and roll. But if you listen to some of the Samson stuff off Shock Tactics, you could identify straight away. If it would have fitted into Maiden.
Yeah. Keith, from what you can recall, was it a difficult transition going from one singer who was sort of there for a few years and the fans loved to a new singer?
I mean, from a band point of view, musically and stuff, it was a fairly smooth transition. I mean, basically, Paul and the band both knew he was on the way out, and Bruce was coming in. So it was like, pretty smooth transition. They were all sort of like, oh, Bruce can do this, Bruce can do that, we can write this type of material and stuff. But from the fan point of view, it was like, oh my God, Paul Diano going with Bruce. Because once again, with Bruce, I mean, he had the hardcore Diano thing, but also a lot of people still saw Bruce as like the Samson persona rather than what he would become. So,
Did you ever get any, obviously in them days with the fan club, did you ever get any people write letters in, saying why they've done this, why they've done that? Did you get that?
Yeah, we got tons of hate mail. Yeah, and as I said, I had the job of answering most of them.
Did you actually back then used to manually just sit there and write or like handwrite every reply?
Yep.
And that was your job. It came down to you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, when the mail came in, I'd sort through it. If I could, I'd have like a question, a Q&A sheet or something like that. If I could answer on the Q&A sheet, great. I'd send that out. Sometimes I'd just jot down a note on a compliment slip or something. But now and then I'd end up writing a book to someone. So, but yeah, literally, apart from the letters that got sent to like that were written they want any replies from the band personally or whatever, or people the band met on tour and say, oh, write to the office or whatever. Then yeah, I literally answered every letter.
Oh, how times have changed. How
Yeah.
times have changed. I mean, the band, the organisation was so much smaller, and you could interact in that fashion. Now it's so...
There's probably about 30 or 40 people that I'm still friends with today that wrote to me through the fan club. I mean, even my bloody wife I met through the fan club. She wrote me to the fan club. So.
Incredible. So Keith, the shows that they did with those intro shows they did with to introduce Bruce in Italy and obviously London. You would have been at the Rainbow show. Sorry, the Ruskin Arms show.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your recollection of the very first time you saw Bruce on stage with them, playing the new songs? And was it could you feel that, wow, this is definitely another level?
Yeah. I mean, it's instantly. I mean, even when you listen to Bruce's demo tape, which was basically his voice being dubbed onto like Made in Japan recordings and stuff. Because in fact, if you listen carefully, you can hear Paul Di'Anno's harmonies in the background or on Remember Tomorrow and stuff. So, but no, I mean, just listening to Bruce doing the old stuff, it's like, wow, this is quantum leap type job. And then once you heard the new songs and stuff. I mean, because obviously heard some of them in the studio being demoed and rehearsed and stuff. So, But yeah, no, I mean, straight away it was no doubt. It was like, okay, this is it. This is the next level.
Yeah.
It's been well documented, I think, by Steve and that they were sort of under pressure to write new material. Because the first two albums were stuff that they were playing live over so many years.
Exactly.
Did you find that they were under that pressure, or it sort of came easy to them to write that material?
Yeah, I mean, basically they had like a sort of core of songs, but it did, obviously it came to a point where they did need to sort of like move their arses and knock off three or four songs at the last minute.
Yeah, because it's also well documented that obviously Bruce couldn't get a writing credit on the Numbered Beast, but we know it's since transpired that we know he did contribute to at least 3 of the songs on that album, didn't he?
You may say that, but I can't possibly comment.
Well,
I mean, basically Bruce was precluded from writing any songs.
Yeah, I didn't say the word writing, I said contributed.
Well, yeah, either or, yeah.
The prisoner.
Do you remember which of the songs they sort of had to smash out at the last minute?
Let me think. Well, I mean, I think Gangland was one.
I was going to say that.
Total Eclipse maybe, but no, offhand I can't really think. I know, as I said, I know they had a core of it, but then oh shit, we've got 4 or 5 songs to put in here. I mean, in fact, the fact that they could actually had enough to put like Total Eclipse on a single or whatever proves they more than they more than had enough songs in the end.
Digressing a little bit, do they? So if they're doing an album, this is any album, not just a Numbered Beast. Do they actually write? Right, we're going to do this album. We're going to do 8 songs, and they just write 8 songs, or do they actually write, say, 12, and then pick 8? And then
Basically. Usually they always end up with more songs than they know. It's like a case of, do we put this on the album? Do we make it a B-side? Or whatever. So there is a possibility.
So there is a possibility that there's probably stuff that they wrote back then that is, never ever been recorded, or demoed or something like that?
If there is, it'd only be like basic, like the most basic demos you can think of. You know, nowhere near a finished song, but probably
or possibly stuff that they. Possibly ideas and stuff that they then would have used for peace of mind, maybe.
Well, I mean, the fact, you know, I mean, a perfect example is like that Black Bart Blues.
Yeah,
they released in 1990. The B-side was originally a song they played in '76 called "Highway Road in Time."
That's it. Yeah, Highway Road in Time.
Black Bart Blues was...
And Purgatory. Purgatory was just a speed out version of an old song as well.
Yeah,
Floating. It was called.
Yeah.
Black Bart Blues was the B-side on "Can I Play with Madness," wasn't
it? 88. It was 88.
Yeah.
Look, I know we're wildly digressing, but how on earth did they come up with that song? What even? I remember hearing it back then, and I just couldn't make out what it was.
To tell you the truth, is I mean the original, the Black Bart Blues, the original was a totally different subject matter completely. It was like a sci-fi type, but with Black Bart Blues, it was basically a autobiography of like sort of life on the road in America. Hence the tour bus sequence and stuff like that. It was their way of sort of saying like, you know, getting out of their system without without setting themselves up or whatever.
Yeah, there's many evil ways in Tennessee and elsewhere. That's a part that sticks out in my mind. Interesting. Keith, did your workload increase exponentially around the time of the Number of the Beast because this new generation or this new sort of cohort of fans sort of started joining and came along?
Yeah. I mean, literally, it went from like maybe 100 letters a week to sort of like 700 or 800 letters a week.
Wow.
Because also, I mean, at the end of the Killers tour, they were in America, so that sort of started the groundswell there. And then, of course, the Number of the Beast came out. It was like we started getting letters from all over the planet. It went absolutely crazy.
No, well, this is when I got into the band. So I'm part of that cohort. I'm one of those kids that I mean, I did not know about the band in 80 or 81. I had no idea about them. I just didn't, and it was only end of 82 they were here in Australia in November. And my next door neighbour, because I was a Kiss fan, I was a massive Kiss fan, and my next door neighbour said, "No, mate, you listen to this cassette. Just listen to this album."
Right.
And I still remember, hearing, the intro to Invaders, and I just thought, my goodness, just like a multitude of other kids felt when you just heard that intro plus everything that followed, Prisoner and Acacia Avenue and everything else, the production, the playing, you just thought this was something else. None of us ever heard anything like that.
No, I was saying for me on the debut album, when I was playing Phantom of the Opera, and it was like, whoa, what the hell's this? Obviously, you then got it 2 years later with The Number of the Beast, so that was your first album. Yeah. I completely understand what you mean.
Yeah. And Paul, which is why to this day, I don't resonate with those first couple of years of the band. I just can't relate to it. This is how it is. This timeline is everything. Your first album, So for me, the first lineup I encountered was Dickinson, Clive Burr. So for me that was the lineup, the sort of the band that I fell in love with. Anything that came before it. I obviously listen to Killers later on and the first album later on, but they're not albums that I play regularly because it's just understandably so. It's just what I wasn't into. So
funny you say that because I was listening to Killers this morning. All the way through.
And Killers is a magnificent album. Killers
Great
is a
album,
magnificent album with great production, great playing. But I still remember the moment my neighbour gave me, because he'd been to the gig in '82, and I still remember he gave me the cassette, and that was, and every other kid's got that story as well when they heard that album, and it was a unique time because within 4 or 5 months I had two new albums to listen to because Peace of Mind came out 5 months later from when I got that cassette.
I actually had a similar experience with Power Slave.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, a friend of mine, his older brother, I don't know what his timing was. He knew somebody who worked for the band or something like that. And I was walking home and I could hear this music playing and I was, what the heck? Sounds like Maiden. So, being a cheeky little sod at the time, I knocked on his front door. Knocked on his front door. I said, what is that? He goes, it's a new Iron Maiden album. I said, it can't be. It's not out for another month. Oh, I've got a copy of it. And he had a copy on tape. And he said, take it home. This is the days when we had double tape decks, record players. Take it home and record it and bring it back. I took it home, did a tape-to-tape record, took it back. And I was listening to it, continuously for, like a month before it came out. Then I would have bought the album vinyl. But it was one of those, and I remember listening to that album thinking, whoa, what have they done? This is just unbelievable. Peace of Mind was my favourite. And then Power Slave, literally, brilliant.
I agree. I mean, it's Beast was my first album, but yeah, I agree with you entirely. Power Slave for me sort of took the fandom to another level. Keith, during the recording of Number of the Beast, were you guys were the events in the studio sort of quite secretive, or were you guys aware that Martin Birch was really working Bruce hard? Because it's quite well.
Well, thing is at that time, Century's offices were right next door to the studio, to Battery Studios. So it's like literally, just nip through a connecting door and like sitting on the sessions and stuff and what have you. So yeah, New Martin was really putting him through his paces.
Oh, yeah, so it wasn't just for the record. I know we covered this in a previous episode, but the location of where Battery Studios was, that studio no longer exists, does it?
I don't believe so. No.
It doesn't.
No, basically what it was Zomba, the band's music publishers. They had there was the original Battery Studios, which was on one side of the main road, and then off of a little side street, there was a row of terraced houses, and Zomba bought up one of the blocks of terraced houses and made that into a studio, an office complex expansion. So the part of Battery Studios the band were in was actually the terraced house part, which was right next door to the Century office at the time. So.
Oh, wow. So the studio was in a terrace house? Like one of those sort of, was it a Victorian or Elizabethan type?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's why I love these conversations. You learn so much.
Yeah, literally, you'd walk through the front door and it would literally be just like a regular terrace house until you got to the back, and then all of a sudden it's high-tech studio, all wood panelled and sound proofing and everything.
Was that North London?
Northwest London.
Northwest London.
Yeah.
Willesden, wasn't it? I said earlier.
Yeah, between Kilburn and Wembley.
Yeah, that's Willesden. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Did now? I'm gonna be a bit controversial now.
Well, we have to.
Did the Martin Birch experiences really happen? The bill for the car being £666, stuff like that. Or was that a bit of political PR?
It's a little bit of both, I think. I think it was embellished a bit, yeah. But like weird things did happen in the studio. But I mean, I think basically that was because of the. I mean, I don't know if the place was haunted or whatever, because it was, it was an old house or whatever. But yeah, there was a sort of like weird vibe. It's like a couple of times. What's it? Because I mean, obviously the band never used to arrive till about lunchtime, whereas I was in the office at like 10 o'clock. So I'd wander into the studio and have bash on Clive's drum kit or something like that. And it's weird when you're in that place on your own at night, and at night or in the morning, there was a sort of weird vibe.
It's really interesting. Because Adrian tells a story as well about being in Canada with Natalie, and I don't know, he walked into a shop to buy something, and it was, the price came to that as well. I can't remember the exact story, but he does mention a similar sort of story to what Martin Birch said.
Yeah. There were some sort of well, you could sort of class them as strange goings on, but as I said, whether it's just down to the sort of general vibe of this is the old house or whatever, and it's just sort of like, how someone will say something like around the campfire, campsite, they'll go story, and they eventually get out of control and everyone shits themselves all night. So and obviously it's good publicity.
Yeah, well, it is.
I think, like you said, it's a bit of both, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of publicity and a good story to go with it as well. So yeah.
Right.
We'll leave it there.
Well, it's my turn. It's now my turn to be controversial. So, Keith, when did at what point do you remember? And I know it's a long time ago, and we're pounding you with these questions. I mean, I don't remember what I did yesterday. Here we are asking about 40 years ago. But at what point did the frustrations with Clive start surfacing?
They actually probably started during the tour. During the end of the Killers tour, leading up to then of course with the Beast on the Road tour it was okay, but as the tour wore on, it sort of started through. I mean, basically at first it was just like a sort of case of He was burned out, getting burned out by the tour. But then afterwards, he had problems at home. His dad was sick and stuff, and also, he fell into the old trap of, let's say, rock and roll excesses.
Yeah. And
it got to a point where he was making himself ill. I mean, to be fair to the guy, he was still the ultimate consummate professional on stage. I mean, you can't really fault his playing on stage or whatever, but behind the scenes, it was sort of like.
Yeah, and I guess Steve, I guess the band was now really going to, I think the word used before was quantum leap. It was just a different level, and the level of discipline and professionalism that
that's right,
you had to have to be in that band, I think, was probably something that caught out Clive and Paul Di'Anno together.
And also as well, the thing is like with Clive, it was a case of he could take a few months off to sort himself out, but the band at that time, a 3 or 4 month break would have been, it'd have been a domino effect. Is basically the band had things set up into the middle of next year. So it's like if they'd have to break off of him, the momentum would have come to a grinding halt.
That's the key point.
They couldn't afford to basically sort of like, let's take a few months off while Clive sorts himself out.
No, that's the key point, isn't it? From the day that album was released, the momentum just snowballed, didn't it? I mean, number one album, full scale European, Japanese, US, UK, Australian tour. They were really starting to go to another.
Basically, Rod put together a 5-year plan with Andy and Steve.
Wow. Okay.
So basically, from 1982 to the end of '86.
Wow.
Everything about what they wanted to achieve was pretty much in place.
Keith, was it specific things like in 1982? Did they have a vision for Somewhere in Time then, or was it more so this is financially where we want to be. This is
Yeah. I mean, it is basically we're gonna do an album. We're gonna tour. We're gonna do an album. We're gonna tour.
okay.
You know.
So it was more of an itinerary rather than specific ideas.
Yeah. That was it. Basically, he's like, literally, they'd finished Number of the Beast, and it was okay. We're out on the tour. Then, as soon as that tour was over, it was like, okay, let's start work. Let's take a few, we'll take a few weeks off on holiday, and let's start working on the next album.
Wow.
So it was literally like a giant assembly line.
That sort of came to a head though, didn't it, with the World Slavery Tour when they were
everyone was burned out. Yeah.
I think that's that's in the tour program, isn't it? The Summer in Time tour program, where they said, we took so many months off and just did this. I think each member in that tour program's got their own little sections. So he said, I did my photography, I did this, I did that. I think Adrian and Nico did the entire population of Hackney because they were a bit bored of not playing. But it seems that obviously that's it, that's the one.
Yeah.
But the
Japanese
one was actually the first proper world tour they did, wasn't it? Where you could say they encompassed the whole world. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yep. Keith, at what point did the band really sort of stop having fun and just become, like a well-oiled machine? Was it Slavery when they just became very regimented? Was it around that time, or were they already, or was it around the Number of the Beast?
I mean, it started with the Beast tour. I mean, because the thing is, the schedules were packed so tight that there really wasn't time to sort of like think about anything else other than just recording or performing. That was it.
Wow, and they were really regimented. I mean, they like to have fun, but
oh yeah,
they were regimented.
I mean, they had fun. It wasn't all work and no play, but. As I said, it's like the 5-year plan was in effect, and it was a case of like, okay, you can do this, do that, but you've got to be here at this time doing this.
Yeah, going back to the Clive situation, was Nico the number one choice? Was there anybody else they looked at, or
good question,
stuff like that? Do you know? Obviously, Nico toured with him, didn't he? He was in Trust. And
I mean,
video or something with an Eddie mask on, so you couldn't see who it was.
That's right. Yeah.
TV program or something.
No, Nico was number one. I mean, I think they auditioned a few people, but Nico was the number one choice all along. Because him and Rod went right back to the 60s and stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but and I mean when the band first met Nico, they fell in love with each other, literally, sort of mutual society.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also really interesting. We had a chat to Joe Lazarus about this a few months or last year, where we went from Clive's sort of jazz swing style to Nico's style, which is just so complex. And I think that's what makes The Number of the Beast such a unique album, other than the fact that it's packed with so many of the classic songs. But you've got this heavy, sort of consummate heavy metal album, iconic heavy metal album, and yet the drumming style is just so uniquely funky, and there's a bit of funk in there. There's jazz in there. There's swing style in there. You just got to listen to Gangland, don't you? And stuff like that, which is what I love about. What I loved about Clive Burr. He's the feel that he brought to the songs was very different to the feel Nico brought. Both of them great. Both of them wonderful.
Yeah.
Just that.
I think he was sort of. I know it's not a brilliant comparison. But he was kind of like a Keith Moon, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Where Keith Moon literally played what he wanted to play. If you listen to some of those Who tracks, you would never play those drum beats that he played. He had a different style, didn't he? Like you said with Clive. And Clive's drumming, on that album is superb. Yeah.
And you replicated it live perfectly.
He did, yeah. Keith Wilfort on that tour,
Yeah. And I guess, Keith, you really felt that with Bruce now on board, the versatility was there, and did you sort of feel they were no longer, the local London band? Now they were really going to go global in a big way, because
basically per se, as far as the band themselves go, is because Bruce, at the time, only before Maiden, Bruce was only known as, the singer of Samson and stuff, and a pub singer anyway. So to me, it was literally the same band. What really did it was like, when they sold out the Rainbow, or they sold out Hammersmith and stuff like that, then you could tell it was like a snowball, and it just it was going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Would you say that March '82 Hammersmith gig really was one of the most important shows they did back in the 80s?
Easily, yeah.
It was for me, because I was there,
Yeah, you were there, or you were both there?
I was,
Yeah, no, basically, because for the Hammersmith show, they pulled out, they put extra stage scenery in, extra light, they really went for it. So
whose idea was to get that young lady to dress up as Charlotte?
Yeah.
That I have no idea.
And who was that?
Probably Rod.
Rod. Yeah.
Yeah, probably Rod, because Rod. He was he's the one who came up with the the Eddie holding Ozzy's head and stuff like that, and what have you. So yeah, most of the sort of more controversial parts of the press and shows, Rod sort of like, oh, it'd be great if we do this, let's do that. And,
was that just?
I remember a photo shoot that was in Kerrang.
Oh, that one, yeah.
With Eddie, someone dressed up as Eddie with some ladies of dressed up in
that was Rod.
Lingerie, as we should say. Yeah,
that was Rod. There was a lot of volunteers. For that role, and Rod insisted that he was the one to do it.
Was that an actress or a model that they employed to come on stage? And did she only ever come on for the Hammersmith show, or did she do the tour during 22 Acacia Avenue?
I think she just did Hammersmith, didn't she, Paul? Did you see any of the show?
No, only
I don't remember. I think she was just employed because they were filming the show.
They were filming it,
yeah.
Yeah.
Can we then touch on the beast over Hammersmith? Obviously, it was filmed. It was never released, or it was advertised.
It was fucking horrible.
Myself and Rasmus are still trying to find the original artwork. We know it exists, and you know it exists because you remember it as much as I do when it was advertised in this country. We can find half of it. We can't find all of it.
Wouldn't Derek have it? Paul, wouldn't Derek Riggs have it?
No, I've asked Derek. No, he hasn't got the original artwork.
Basically in those days, Derek would do the painting. Effectively, Iron Maiden bought it off him. It was a commission, so basically, once Derek finished the painting, he got paid. That was it. It was Iron Maiden's property.
Yeah, and it was Eddie standing over Hammersmith.
Yeah.
I always remember the picture. I always remember it, and I can picture it now. I remember seeing it advertised in video magazines and flyers that you used to get with music papers and whatever. And it was Eddie standing over Hammersmith.
Yeah.
We cannot find it. It's like the holy grail of artwork to find.
Yeah. Well, I've got the feeling. I've got the feeling it's probably sitting in some ex-EMI executive's wall somewhere in his man cave or whatever.
Probably, yeah, because it was EMI. It was advertised in the form EMI or it was video magazine or flyers. Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Well, to give you some hope as a long-time collector, everything eventually always turns up. It will turn up.
Let's
I'm
hope so.
telling you
Let's
now.
hope so.
I'm telling you now.
As I said, we found half of it, the top half.
Yeah.
Find the rest of it.
You found Eddie the head.
We found the head. not the hammer-smith.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a remarkable, when you think about it, when you reflect on it 40 years later, it's a remarkable feat that in a music scene where you had the new romantics sort of dominating the charts, and you know, bands like Duran Duran, you know, Elton John, you know, all these sort of
Adam and the Ants.
Yeah, exactly. Devo, Adam and the Ants, and here you've got, you know, an up and coming metal band getting a number one album in their home country. It's actually testament to the quality of the album and the quality of the band. It really is. It never ceases.
The funny thing is, we used to go to a youth club on a Friday night where when I lived in Old Windsor, and 82. It was in a church. It was in a Methodist church, and me and my mate Martin, we used to bring our records to our work. We used to bring Run to the Hills and Number the Beach 7-inch singles. The guy who ran the fan club said, "I'll let you play them. You can only play them once. That's it. Once each. Everything else was all the pop music charts. What did I say? But like you said, new romantic and all that stuff. But yes, you can play them, but you can only play it once, and that's it. Every week." It was like you're not allowed to play them. There you go.
But as we've discussed before, metal and being Maiden fans, we were always on the outer, weren't we? We were always outcasts to a.
Yeah, so it was the look that we had in those days, with the denim jacket, with the patches and the studded wristbands and the t-shirts and just all that. It was just, for us metal fans, it was the same as the punks. You know, you'd walk down the high street, people would look at you and they'd look down on you, kind of thing. And you know, because of the way you looked, but in essence, you were the same as them. You were a normal person. You just liked different things. Like you're saying, the new romantics, you know, the way they dressed, but they weren't looked upon like metal and punk fans were. They were looked upon as if, you know, they're just normal people dressing like that. Where we were looked down upon, I think.
Well, I mean,
we used to call them fashion victims.
Yeah. I remember that expression. Yeah.
I think, look, music fans are kind of like a, you know, microcosm. I mean, you know, it's really a reflection of society. You know, the vast majority want to be part of the trendy, beautiful A-list group.
But it's also the artwork as well, you know, the Number the Beast artwork.
Look, Paul, I think...
The t-shirt and the single artwork where he's holding the devil's head up and purgatory. People looked, when you wore stuff like that...
Do you know what, mate?
They looked at you just to say, why are you wearing that?
Do you know what, mate? I genuinely think they were intimidated. I think the artwork, I think the leather, the denims, I think it intimidated them. They really did, because... You know, you got people, you know, listening to, you know, just really bright, sort of
fluffy pop music,
quite fluffy stuff, and going to discos and dancing. And here we are.
Well, that's their prerogative. Your prerogative is to listen to what you want to listen to. What you want to wear.
No, I vividly remember wearing, you know, my Aces High T-shirt to school, and you know, you'd walk in and people kind of take a wide berth. But
going off on a different tangent now, I was in my local shop this morning, and I had this year's Spanish bench shirt on. And the girl at the service said, "Oh, that's a great bit of artwork. That's brilliant."
Times have changed.
You wouldn't get that 40 years ago.
No.
They'd look at you and think,
no, times have changed. I mean, you know, back in the 80s, right up to and including Fear of the Dark, even our band. I mean, look, it was a smaller band. I mean, even they played Donington. They were still our band. They were still our little secret, so to speak. You know, we were very much, small.
The exclusive club.
It really was. It really was. Now things are different. They are now a global phenomenon. They're almost like family entertainment now.
Household
which I personally don't like.
Not household names, but they're known, aren't they? If you said now I like Iron Maiden, people know who they are.
Well, they are. I mean, I talk to colleagues now, at work, just quite conservative, people, and you mention Iron Maiden. Oh, yeah, yes, the band with a plane.
Yeah. The singer's a pilot. Yeah.
The singer's a pilot. Oh, yeah, I saw his book. Whereas back in the 80s, I mean, they were a fledgling band, and there was that element, that edginess, that danger.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that intimidated a lot of people. I had a friend recently say, he came and saw all this stuff, and he goes, "Man, that's quite intimidating." And they were the words he used. And that's the moment it dawned on me that back then, 35, 40 years ago, that's that image that we portrayed to the Duran Duran fans and the Prince fans and the Madonna fans. I think it's scary. I think it intimidated them. But
it did. My boss at work, when he was young, was a fencer, and he brought a photograph in of him and Bruce in 87, 88.
Wow.
At a fencing tournament, and he was like, really, really nice guy, really good fencer, but he said it's not my taste of music, but I knew Bruce back then as a fencer. I didn't know him as a singer or he became a pilot, but to him he was Bruce Dickinson, the fencer. He wasn't Bruce Dickinson, the singer of Iron Maiden.
That's right.
And people couldn't. They couldn't see outside the band, could they? All they could see was his band. They've got these images of Eddie and this and that, and it's pretty stupid to me.
Eddie's got a lot to answer for, I think, with keeping us as outcasts.
But it was done in a good way.
It was done in a great way. It was done in a great way.
Well, the thing is, what you've got to remember is me being sort of like half a generation before you, but basically the whole thing with like heavy metal fans and rock fans being sort of like the bad guys, it goes back to the previous decade when you had the mods and the rockers. It's just to carry on. It was just to carry on over that, but rock music has got this sort of like, this evil identity, whereas like other, pop music and stuff is like, you can go right away back to the 50s with that, and that carried on. It wasn't until the 90s that it sort of like became more inclusive of it. You could say you like Duran Duran and you also like Iron Maiden, and that being nothing wrong yet.
You're saying about the 50s. You go back to when Elvis first appeared on the telly.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They wouldn't show him from the waist down.
Exactly, yeah.
How controversial they thought Elvis was. Ended up being the king of rock and roll, one of the greatest vocalists of all time.
Yeah.
Actually, Keith, you just reminded me of something. In '82, all that sort of the theme of the album, it really wasn't an issue in the UK, was it? It was more the Americans. It's more an American thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, basically, it was just stoked up in America. The tele-evangelists and stuff. What can we do to bring in some more watchers and money and that? And of course, sort of, then, Tipper got, a year later, Gore and Nancy Reagan jumped on the bandwagon. It was just basically tele-evangelists wanted to make money and the politicians wanted to make capital.
The good thing about that was, on Peace of Mind, when they took the piss out of them, that they put that thing on the back of the album, changing the word to brain, on the passage from the Bible. And I've got the Peace of Mind T-shirt with that on the back.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my shop, local shop, a couple of years ago, and I had that T-shirt on. And some old woman come up to me and said, "Oh, I really like that." And as I turned around, she saw the front and sort of Oh, right, okay. But I think she read it wrong because it says brain instead of pain or something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite surreal and funny at the same time.
Yeah, that's.
It is what it is, and it was what it was. And like you say, the Americans, they just took it too far, didn't they?
Well, my argument is most of us have turned into fairly well-adjusted adults, and
I think you find 99.9% of the Maiden fandom are well-adjusted adults.
Well, they really are. They really
the
are.
way they were perceived back in those days.
Yeah. They really are. And you know, I've never seen trouble at a Maiden gig. I mean, yes, it's happened. Of course, it's happened. But I've personally not encountered. I've just encountered very friendly, you know, people who look after each other. And
they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. The only time I've ever seen trouble at a Maiden concert, and it wasn't trouble between the fans, it was when the fan ran on stage. I think Keith might have been at the gig. It was Oxford Apollo, 1990, in the city.
Yeah.
A guy ran on stage, and Bruce said, anybody else does that, they're going to get, not a hiding, but they're going to get sorted out. And about 5 minutes later, some other idiot did it. And Bruce got hold of the guy, literally threw him, grabbed hold of him, threw him into the amps. The roadies come on, dragged him off stage. And he was like, we told you.
Yeah.
And I think the only other time I've seen anything, it wasn't Maiden. It was when it was Hammersmith '88, and they had the Killer Dwarfs supporting them, and they were awful. They were not very good. And the fans down the front at Hammersmith were literally giving this band so much stick. It was unbelievable. And I remember two members of the band jumping in the crowd and literally fighting with the crowd.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever seen anything like that at a concert, at a Maiden concert.
So that happened at Hammersmith, did it?
On the 7th floor, yeah. Yeah, because I went to Hammersmith. I couldn't get tickets to Wembley. But then they weren't very good, though, that band, that Killer Dwarfs. They were awful.
No.
It's an unusual pairing, isn't it?
Yeah, but Hammersmith was the place to go to in the 80s.
Yeah.
I envy you. You lived there. You experienced it. You know, we only got them
82, 83, 84, 86, 88. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Not bad run, that is it?
No, well, I mean you sort of grew up in their backyard, didn't you? So you got to see them.
Yeah. And I remember. I can't remember the pub. What was the pub that was round the corner from that?
Duke of Cornwall.
Do you remember? That was it.
Yeah.
I first met Cod in there. I think you were there as well, Keith. I remember right.
Probably, yeah. If Cod was there, I was probably there.
I think that was the first time I met you and I met Cod, because he said, I remember him saying to me, "Oh, not another bloody Arsenal supporter."
That's it,
Yeah. But there you go.
I think Loopy said that from the back of Duke of Cornwall was quite easy to get backstage, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So if you're looking at Hammersmith, if I remember rightly, it was on the left-hand side. You went down the side. It was about 10, 20 yards down there. The pub. If you went out the back of the pub, you come out to the back of Hammersmith, where like the stage door and everything was.
Yeah.
All the loading out area. Yeah.
I went and checked it out a couple of months ago when I was in the UK. I just wanted to see how the layout was. So.
But I'm sure that was the first time that I met Keith.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
What tour was that, Paul?
That was Seventh Son tour, yeah. 88. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great days, great times.
So I've known Mr. Keith since then.
34 years.
34 years.
Yeah.
Time goes by, eh? Time goes by.
He's done me a few favours over the years, which I'm grateful for, but I won't go into it. There you go.
That's what friends are for,
Yeah.
right? So.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, let's wrap up. I've got to get to work. I've got to take a shower, shave, and get to work. So,
Nico would say shit shower shave.
Yeah.
The three Eppies.
The three, yeah. Yeah, no, I've got
15 minutes on the Somewhere Back in Time DVD.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
No, I got a few hours to get there, but I've got to do a lot of other stuff. So, all right. Well, another terrific chat, Keith. Thank you so much for being generous with your time again. We always love these chats. It's a great era, an era that a lot of us remember very fondly, and for some of us, it's where it all started. So we celebrate it, we love it, and thanks again, mate. Good to talk to you, Keith.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. We'll see you all soon.
Good to see you again, Keith. Yeah.
And if there's any Liverpool fans watching this,
what a great way to end the show. What a great way to end the show. So, happy birthday to you, Paul, for tomorrow.
For tomorrow, yeah.
And a happy anniversary to you, Keith.
Yeah,
thank you.
Anniversary to you, Keith and Penny, yeah.
Stay well, gentlemen. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll all chat soon, I'm sure.
Okay, take care.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you guys.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.